You're watching Las Vegas.into, your 24-hour news source.
You're watching Las Vegas.into, news and information 24/7.
This week on In Business Las Vegas.
But they know that their job is dangerous. They know that they can come to work in the morning and maybe not go home at night.
Another worker loses his life on a strip project. Is construction site safety lacking? Plus, a credit crunch grips the already troubled real estate market. And are strip clubs being singled out when it comes to taxes? In Business Las Vegas, next.
From Las Vegas.into, an inside look at the movers and shakers. This is In Business Las Vegas.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff Gillan. Welcome to this edition of In Business Las Vegas, your source for the top business news of the week. From the resources of the Las Vegas Sun, Channel 8 Eyewitness News, and In Business Las Vegas. Right now, let's take a look at our top story. For the second time in a week, a construction accident kills a worker. This happened Thursday at CityCenter, a project under development by MGM Mirage. The Perini employee was greasing a man-lift elevator shaft on this tower when the counterweight system came down on top of him, cutting his body in two.
Literally have to lift a cage full of construction workers high up into the air. You can imagine that counterweight system is very, very heavy, you know, and moves at a pretty good pace when it is moving.
The Perini worker died at the scene. It's not the first time this project with 3,600 construction workers has dealt with a fatal accident. Back in February, 2 were killed on this same site when a 3,000-pound retaining wall fell on top of them. The Clark County Fire Department says with so many projects going up in the valley, accidents like this are sadly inevitable. OSHA is investigating that accident and the partial collapse of the parking garage at the Fontainebleau Resort. Nobody was hurt when 3 floors of the garage collapsed Monday. A spokesperson for the Fontainebleau says construction on the garage will resume once the investigation is complete. A worker at the site says he's concerned about the safety of the garage's structure.
They need to do something different here on this site. They need to go through all the structural, the concrete tees and X-ray them, find out what the hell happened, and go from there.
Residents of the neighboring Turnberry Place, meanwhile, are scheduled to appear in court later this month in an effort to stop construction of that garage. The residents are appealing the county commission's decision to approve a height increase for the garage from 175 feet to 230 feet. This, by the way, is the second accident in the past 2 weeks at the Fontainebleau. OSHA is also investigating the death of a worker who fell from a 30-foot wall last week. Accidents like these are all too common in southern Nevada. During the last 2 years, OSHA has looked at more than a dozen local incidents involving workers who were killed on the job, and in most of those cases, OSHA investigators discovered violations. The I-Team's Mark Sayre reports.
October 25, 2004, at the Mirage, an employee of Hanson Mechanical fell more than 30 feet from a ladder. The violation, working conditions which created a trip-fall hazard. January 20th, 2005, a worker with Frank Iovino Masonry died when he fell off a truck. OSHA found the employer did not ensure employees followed safety precautions. August 2nd, 2005, a worker for Rice Construction dies on the job of heat stress. 3 violations were found, a lack of training and safety procedures. August 10th, 2005, an employee of Pipes Paving was run over by a road grader near Centennial Parkway and Losee in North Las Vegas. North Las Vegas police responded.
Some of these areas are dangerous when you get out here doing this kind of construction with this kind of vehicle moving around. It's a dangerous job for a lot of these people, and unfortunately sometimes accidents occur.
The company was cited for failing to promote safety in the workplace. September 21st, 2005, at what was then called the South Coast Casino, a 24-year-old carpenter working for AJA Construction fell 120 feet to his death. AJA was cited for failing to use a safety guardrail and creating a fall hazard. November 22nd, 2005, again at the former South Coast Casino, an employee of R&J Steel fell 60 feet to his death. OSHA found 4 serious violations, including failing to provide the worker with a proper fall prevention system. January 3rd, 3rd, 2006, an employee of Gas Steel fell 18 feet to his death. OSHA found 3 violations, including failure to provide safety training and failing to secure steel decking. June 9th, 2006, an employee of Pulte Building Systems was crushed by a machine. OSHA found Spanish-speaking employees did not receive safety training in Spanish. And June 26, 2006, at the Cascada Golf Course in Boulder City, an employee was crushed to death by a beverage cart. The company was cited for failing to provide proper training. Mark Sayre, Channel 8 Eyewitness News.
The highest fine OSHA imposed for a deadly accident was $6,000. OSHA declined the I-Team's request for an on-camera interview about any aspect of its operation or how it goes about doing its work. Joining me right now is Lynn. He's the director of Clark County's Development Services. Mr. Lynn has oversight of construction sites. Thank you for coming on our program. We appreciate it. How safe are local construction sites here?
Well, we don't actually regulate the safety of the construction sites. What we regulate is the actual construction itself. Worker safety is dependent upon the training, the equipment that's available, and really being aware, because these sites are incredibly complex.
They are complex with a lot of moving parts, a lot of people. Nonetheless, how safe are they, do you think?
Well, if everybody does their job, they can be very safe. There's still going to be generally that risk of moving around with heavy machinery and with debris on the site. But the point is, people are supposed to be trained, they're supposed to use the safety devices, and they're supposed to think before they act.
You know, we had that horrific accident this week at CityCenter. I mean, how does something like that happen? I mean, is that somebody not following protocol, or is there a problem with procedures, do you think?
Well, it's hard for me to understand what transpired there. That's really an OSHA investigation, and it is an open investigation at this time. Clearly, something was very much wrong. Either they weren't where they were, where they should not have been, or the equipment was not locked off to be safe enough at the time.
You know, there is such a rush, Mr. Lynn, to get these things built. The company's under huge pressure to come in on time. Is safety taking a back seat because of that pressure, do you think, at all?
I do not believe from the main companies that it is taking a back seat. Let's use CityCenter as an example. Certainly MGM Mirage, safety is of paramount importance. You can even see how they operate their own buildings, which they have thousands of employees, and they're very safe. I think that sometimes certain contractors are going down, certain foremen are rushing to get something completed, and they can neglect some of the safety protocols.
I know that obviously the county has inspectors who do go to these sites. How many inspectors does the county have to monitor all this stuff? Do you know?
Well, again, we're talking about the actual physical aspects of the construction to meet the code. And we, between our public works inspectors, or what we call off-site, and our on-site inspectors, we're running about 175.
What do you do when you're at a site? I mean, what do you folks look for?
Well, we're looking for compliance with the codes and standards of construction. We adopt the International Building Code and the International Residential Code and all the subset of codes for electrical and mechanical to make sure they're installed correctly.
What kind of sanctions does a builder here face if they're violating what you're looking at there?
Well, there are many sanctions, but the most significant is we can stop all construction. In fact, you mentioned the Fontainebleau earlier, Jeff, and we have stopped construction there to conduct our investigation of the structural components, including the concrete and the steel.
Anything initially on that garage collapse that you're finding?
Well, first of all, we've required a forensic engineer to come in and do a full evaluation. Second, our own staff has looked at some of the connecting points there where these double T's have connected into the steel. It's inherently a hybrid structure, and there seems to be some deficiencies. We're going to be going back at the precast fabricator and looking at their quality control records.
Deficiencies in the connection that you're seeing?
We're looking at mainly deficiencies in the caging, in other words, the reinforcing steel at those points.
Mr. Lynn, we're out of time. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it very much.
You.
The number of homes for sale in the Las Vegas Valley reached an all-time high in July, excuse me. The Realtors Association reports 24,087 homes on the market, an increase of nearly 2% from June. The median sales price of a single-family home fell 3.3% to $295,000. It is the first time in more than 2 years the sales price dipped below $300,000, and prices could fall even further. UNLV economist Keith Schwer predicts the glut of homes for sale will force more sellers to lower their asking price in the coming months.
Housing is no longer going to be the great economic engine that was really propelling our economy at a very rapid rate. we're looking for slower growth going forward because of we're going to see less expansion than we've had in the past. We'll be moving out of a bubble situation, recovery, movement to more stable conditions.
Realtors Association President Devin Reese says, quote, now may be the optimal time to buy a home. Obtaining a loan for that home is becoming more challenging as credit sources dry up. American Home Mortgage filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy this week, days after shutting down its operations, including 3 Nevada branches. American Home Mortgage is one of more than 50 lenders in bankruptcy this year. Local mortgage brokers say American Home had about 8% of the local mortgage business. A handful of residents got their first look this week at Focus Property Group's plans for a mixed-use project in northwest Las Vegas. The development is planned for 1,700 acres of land near 95 and Kyle Canyon Road. It's expected to include a casino, condos, and 16,000 homes. The Review-Journal reports about 70 people attended this week's public meeting, some to oppose the casino component. Others criticize Focus for not notifying enough nearby residents. Focus lobbyist Mark Fiorentino says state law requires notices for immediate neighbors, but nobody lives within the affected area. More than 2,500 people attended last week's auction of dozens of foreclosed homes. Hudson and Marshall auctioned 90 properties and sold 87 with prices ranging from $76,000 to $715,000. Properties sold for at least 70% of their listing price. The company plans to hold another auction in 90 days. When In Business comes back, businesses brace for a crackdown on illegal immigrants. And coming soon, the quality of bottled water from every tap in your home.
If you're a mover or shaker in Las Vegas, there's a newscast designed specifically for you. It's called News One, and you'll find it only on Las Vegas One. News One is smart news for the informed viewer. The only newscast for the high rollers of the local business scene in Southern Nevada. If you want to stay number one, watch News One.
Jeff Gillan hosts News One, weeknights at 9 on Cox Channel 19.
Welcome back. Las Vegas-based Airlines more than doubled its profits in the second quarter. The company reports net income of $10 million, up 112% from last year. Chairman and CEO Maurice Gallagher says the airline added more cities, resulting in the higher numbers. The airline added 7 cities and 11 routes in the second quarter and plans to service 25 new routes by December 31st. This video provided to us by Allegiant Airlines. Station Casino shareholders are scheduled to vote Monday on a proposed $5.4 billion buyout of the company. Fertitta Colony Partners wants to take the company private. The partnership includes California-based Colony Capital, Station Casino executives Frank and Lorenzo Fertitta, their sister Delise Sartini, and her husband Blake. Meanwhile, profits for Station Casinos fell in the second quarter. The company reports net income of $15 million, a drop of nearly 44% from last year. Executives blame the lower earnings on higher construction costs at 2 of Station's Las Vegas properties and higher expenses from the proposed buyout. More Las Vegas customers helped Harrah's profits surge in the second quarter. The gaming giant earned $237 million. That's an increase of nearly 85% from last year. And strong profits in Las Vegas and Macau helped Wynn Resorts reverse its quarterly loss. The company reports net income of $89.6 million, up from last year's loss of $20 million. Local businesses are bracing for a new federal push to crack down on illegal immigrants. Washington has announced tough new rules that will require employers to fire anybody who uses a fake Social Security number. This comes as a new state law is about to take effect, which fines businesses that hire illegal immigrants. And I'm joined right now by local immigration attorney Rebecca Winterscheidt. Ms. Winterscheidt, welcome. Thanks for coming on our program.
Thank you.
All right, if I'm a business, how am I supposed to figure out if a Social Security number is valid and matches the individual?
One way you can do is you can join the basic pilot program or simply call up Social Security and check the name against the number. Another way is oftentimes you will get what's called a no-match letter that's issued about once a year.
Not all mismatches, as I understand it, are the result of somebody being an illegal immigrant, right?
That's correct. There are mistakes. Sometimes they put the rates of mistakes as high as 30%.
You were telling me before we began that there were just some new rules handed down this morning, on Friday morning when we're taping. What are they, quickly?
What they are is the Department of Homeland Security has issued what's called a safe harbor rule. So for people that get the mismatch letters, if they follow certain steps, then they will not be deemed to have constructive knowledge of hiring an illegal alien.
What are some of the certain steps, quickly?
Basically, you have 30 days once you get the no match letter to try to work it out with either the employee or Social Security. And if not, then you have 90 days to have them sign a new I-9 form and to get the benefit of the safe harbor rule.
Under these new laws, I mean, what's the scope of liability for a business? Does it end with fines, or could it extend beyond that?
What ICE has started doing is it extends beyond the fines, which can run up to about $10,000, but now they're going after people for felonies. They're indicting individuals on felony charges.
Oh, really? On felony charges on this? Do you expect these laws to have a major impact here in Southern Nevada?
I think they're going to have a very large impact because, like many other Western states, there are a lot of undocumented workers.
Obviously, in the restaurant and in gaming industry and that type of thing. Do you expect this to lead? This is one of the fears, that it could lead to racial profiling by companies, saying, look, I just want to deal with an Hispanic worker and just not take that risk. Do you think that that's a realistic possibility here?
I think it's a very real possibility. The new regs try to address that, but I think there's a natural inclination to try to profile sometimes.
So your bottom line advice for a business would be what?
To double check with Social Security and make sure the numbers match up and take prompt action.
Ms. Winterscheidt, we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. Attorneys for several local strip clubs say they plan to appeal a state tax commission ruling denying the clubs a $1.8 million refund from Nevada's entertainment tax. The club said the tax violates their freedom of speech by singling out the adult industry. But attorneys for the state say the tax also applies to stage shows and some sporting events. The clubs took their case to the tax commission after the State Department of Taxation denied the refund. Club attorneys say they will pursue the case in Clark County District Court. When In Business comes back today, the quality of bottled water from every tap in your home, it's no pipe dream. Plus, plans for a coal-fired power plant come under fire. We'll tell you why when we return.
You're watching In Business Las Vegas with Jeff Gillan, a program presented in partnership with the Las Vegas Sun, Cox Communications, and KLAS-TV.
Welcome back. I'm Jeff Gillan. The bottled water industry is coming under fire. Last week, Pepsi announced the water it uses for its Aquafina brand, guess what, comes from the tap. Pepsi purifies the water, but is now adding disclaimers to bottles, warning customers that the water comes from a public source. Coke's Dasani water and Nestle's Pure Life water also come from public sources. So is the controversy over Aquafina spilling over to other purified water providers? Joining me now is Danny Prince. He's the marketing director for the Good Water Company. Welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
So is it spilling over to your business? I mean, you know, people say, hey, this is tap water. What are they doing?
Well, you know, that's an interesting statement. The way I look at it, it's like this. People don't really realize it's a lot better than tap water. It's kind of compared to taking, let's say, diesel fuel. It's not quite as refined as unleaded. Well, the city water is the diesel per se. It's still usable, still good, but then it's refined even further than that and becomes bottled water, pure water.
But in light of the Aquafina revelation, I mean, doesn't it just prove, though, that, I mean, tap is just fine, really?
Well, you know, it's safe, and for most people, it's not a problem. I think the biggest problem we have with the tap water around here, especially in Las Vegas, is basically your maintenance of things, your water coolers, your swamp coolers, your, you know, on a commercial end, your ice makers and things like that have a big problem dealing with some of the solids that are left in that water. Some people react to it also, your skin, your hair, you know, things like that. When you have clean water and you're bathing in clean water or you're using it for different equipment, it makes a big difference.
So talk to me about what you do. You specialize in the reverse osmosis purification that, you know, takes the water from point A to point B, essentially. Is this the same purification stuff that I'd have like underneath my kitchen sink? Is that essentially what you've got?
You know, it is. It's good that you hit on that because a lot of people, and there's a lot of commercials even, attacking reverse osmosis water, which is basically what Aquafina is doing. We're doing that same thing you've got at the kitchen sink. We're putting it through the entire house. So not only does your house benefit, or let's say your restaurant or your hotel benefit from it, but you benefit, Jeff.
So what exactly does your technology do? I mean, you've got good old Lake Mead water comes into that reverse osmosis system that you make. What exactly does it take out, and how does it improve what I will then drink?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, you know, and like you say, it's not actually just Lake Mead water. Once again, it's already been put through the city. It's clean, so it is usable already. What we're doing there at that point is getting rid of all the extras. In other words, not just your chlorine, your arsenic, all that's gone, but we also remove all the solids. On the end result of this system, there's basically micron filters, the RO filters, and the holes in those filters are so small, nothing gets through but water. So you end up with basically 98.9% pure water, or kind of like Aquafina in your home.
Well, that's interesting. We want to thank you for your time today. Appreciate you coming on our program. The Environmental Protection Agency is questioning the need for a coal-fired power plant in White Pine County. The EPA is asking the Bureau of Land Management to consider demand before it approves the plant. New Jersey-based LS Power Company wants to build a nearly 1,600 megawatt facility, which could supply power to 1.2 million homes. The BLM owns the site of the proposed station. The EPA says LS Power admits not having customers for the plant. A spokesperson for LS Power says that's because it plans to sell power to other utilities. Southern Nevada will run short of natural gas in 3 years if local utilities don't take steps now to address supply and transportation. That's according to a report to the Public Utilities Commission this week. The report by PUC staffers says Southwest Gas has the capability to transport natural gas to Southern Nevada until 2010, but growth will stress the utility's capacity after that. The PUC directed Southwest Gas to study the matter and report to the Commission and the Attorney General's office every 3 months. Speaking of Southwest, it saw profits disappear in the second quarter. Southwest Gas reports a net loss of $337,000 compared with net income of $3.7 million last year. The company blames less demand as a result of hot summer temperatures, obviously, and less work as a result of a weaker real estate market. When In Business comes back, who's in charge up in Carson City? Our political analyst Jon Ralston has the answer when In Business Las Vegas returns. Nevada's prisons are overflowing with inmates, and now Secretary of State Russ Miller wants the State Prison Board to do something about it. Political analyst Jon Ralston has more on Miller's call to action and what it means for your business. Jon?
Jeff, the legislature talked a lot about the prison crisis in this state, but is there really a crisis looming? Secretary of State Russ Miller thinks so, and he says the State Prisons Board should start meeting. It's only met 3 times in the last 3 years, but can it really do anything? It has the Attorney General and the governor on there too, and it can pass regulations and tell the Department of Corrections director what. It's a very interesting political move by Russ Miller too, because it shows bipartisanship. He's a Democrat, the governor's a Republican. The governor clearly was irked by him calling for the prison board meeting. The governor would have to call the meeting, but it looks like he's going to do it. And it's the kind of thing that I think, Jeff, the business community is going to get involved in, because it's such an important cause, because it has to do with 2 very important issues for the public: safety and finances. So I think we're going to see this happen, Jeff.
Thank you, Jon. Read Jon's column, Slammer Time, right there this week on the front page of In Business Las Vegas. And coming up next week here on In Business, we'll check out some of the best spots to eat featured in this month's Las Vegas Life magazine. Read about many of the stories from today's program and much more by subscribing to our print publication. To do that, log on to inbusinesslasvegas.com or call toll-free 1-800-254-2610. And that's our program for this week. I'm Jeff Gillan, here each week on In Business and each night on News 1 at 9. Thanks for watching.